late 1800s by a wealthy family. Back then, it was a symbol of pride and luxury: marble floors, high ceilings, and large halls where the soft melody of a piano once echoed. Every evening, the lamps would glow, and the laughter of children filled the house. But time changed, and then one day, everything changed forever. Old residents of Mayfair say a family once lived in that mansion: a man, his wife, and their 2 young children. Every face was full of smiles, until one day, silence took over. No sounds, no traces, just a house that still stands there, frozen in time. An old diary was later found, believed to belong to one of them. Inside it, a line was written: "Children only laugh at night." At first, people thought it was just a mother's emotional writing, but when they reached the final page, it said, "Now I can only hear their laughter from inside the walls." Everyone who read it fell silent, because the mother who wrote that line had already been dead. Since 1892, the entire family vanished without a trace. No bodies, no clothes, no evidence. Only the house remained empty, waiting. Every morning, the people of Mayfair still whisper. At night, the sounds came again. Some say one night, the grand clock in the hall stopped exactly at 3:15 a.m. After that, it never ticked again. Another night, an old book fell from a shelf on its own. Footprints appeared on the staircase, even though all the doors were locked. The rocking chair moved gently, as if someone had just been sitting there. A mist once appeared on a mirror, as if someone had breathed upon it, though the room was warm. The chandelier flickered on and off by itself. Near the stairs, they found an old toy, one that belonged to a small child. The curtains swayed softly, though not a single gust of wind was present. It's said that inside the drawing room still hangs an old family portrait. All the faces look straight at the camera, but their eyes seem to follow anyone who passes by. People claim that something in the portrait has changed. Those who have seen it closely say there's now one extra face in the picture, a face that was never there before. An old man from Mayfair once said that years ago, someone went inside the mansion out of curiosity. He said the house was silent, yet the air felt heavy, as if something unseen was present, something you could feel but not see. He noticed that the attic door upstairs was half open. Inside there was dust, old clothes, and a small wooden rocking horse, as if it had been left there long ago. Scratches covered the floor, deep and desperate, as if someone had tried to escape. He found an old sheet with words written across it. "Do not open." When he shone his flashlight across the rafters, a shadow moved swiftly, just for a moment, and then vanished. Terrified, the man ran downstairs. As he opened the front door, a whisper brushed past his ear. "Wait." After that night, no one ever went inside that house again. The next day, people of Mayfair said, "He saw something, and whatever it was, it's still there." They say when the moonlight falls on the stairs, it seems as if someone is looking down from above. And when the wind blows, it sounds like someone softly exhaling right next to your ear. Even today, anyone who passes by that mansion quickens their pace without realizing why. Because people say that house isn't empty. It's waiting for someone. The night was bitterly cold. Clouds covered the sky, and the moon kept hiding behind them, appearing for a moment, then vanishing again. The streets of Mayfair, which were full of life during the day, seemed dull and deserted that night. Every corner, every door, felt like it was hiding an old secret. They say that one man, a curious traveler, stopped in front of that old mansion that very night. He had heard that the house was abandoned, but sometimes a faint light could be seen glowing from inside. One question kept echoing in his mind. If this house is truly empty, then who lights the lamps? The door was old, wooden, and slightly open, as if someone was inviting him in. When he pushed it, it creaked open slowly, and a stale gust of air brushed across his face. The air carried the scent of age, a strange mix of burnt wood and old perfume. The moment he stepped inside, he felt the atmosphere change. Everything was covered in dust. The walls were lined with portraits, their faces faded as if time itself had tried to erase them. In one painting, there was a woman's face, her smile incomplete, her eyes fixed directly at him. He pulled out his flashlight and started walking down the hallway. With every step, the wooden floor creaked beneath his feet. He glanced back, no one was there, yet it felt like someone was breathing beside him. His heartbeat quickened, but curiosity kept him moving forward. From one of the rooms, a faint light glimmered through the half-closed door. He thought, maybe someone else is inside. But the moment he pushed the door open, the light went out. The room was empty except for a rocking chair, slowly moving back and forth. Its wooden base made a faint creaking sound that echoed through the silence. Next to the chair lay an old diary. He brushed off the dust and opened the first page. It read, "I am not alone, they are still here, the ones who left long ago." His hand trembled slightly. He closed the diary and turned to leave, but just then, a sudden draft of cold air brushed against his shoulder. He turned around and saw, at the end of the hallway, a white figure, faint but real. He shone his flashlight toward it, but nothing was there. He ran toward the staircase. With every step, it felt like someone was following right behind him. When he reached the ground floor, the front door was closed and locked from the inside. He pushed hard, shouting, but it didn't open. A cold, perfumed breeze passed by his ear, and from behind he heard a soft sound, a quiet, chilling laugh. He turned around. In the middle of the hall stood that same white figure. This time it was closer. It didn't move forward, it didn't speak, it just stood there, silent but alive. Its eyes gleamed in the darkness. The man's voice froze in his throat. He shut his eyes tightly and pressed his hand against the door, and when he opened them again, everything was gone. The door was open now. He ran outside and stopped in the middle of the street, gasping for breath. But even then, he felt as if something was still walking beside him, as if the shadow of that house had followed him home. He never returned after that night. But people say, if you pass by that mansion on a silent night, you'll see the curtains move slowly, as if someone inside is still watching you. It was the time just before dawn. The streets of Mayfair were completely empty. A thin mist, carried by the cold wind, had covered the entire road. From somewhere far away, the faint sound of a church bell echoed ting-ting, as if time itself had stopped. And in the middle of that stillness stood the old Victorian mansion, silent, yet somehow breathing. They say that after the last person entered that house, something inside changed forever. Since that day, people have noticed that every morning the front gate is found slightly open, as if someone entered during the night and forgot to close it completely. And every time someone passes by, a cold shiver runs through their chest for no reason at all. At night, people have seen the curtains move slowly, even though there's no wind. Once, a night guard claimed he heard the sound of a piano playing from inside, followed by the faint laughter of children. But when he looked through the window, everything was dark. Only a faint flicker of light shimmered deep in the hallway, and then disappeared. Some people, those fascinated by haunted places, decided one night to go inside. Lanterns in hand, phones ready to record. When they opened the first room, they saw an old chair rocking gently on its own. On the wall, written in faded red letters, were the words, "They are still here." As they walked past the doors, one of them whispered that someone had just spoken near his ear, but no one was behind him. In another room, they found a diary. It said, "Whoever enters this house, the house recognizes them." They all laughed nervously, thinking it was just a trick of their imagination. But then they saw the date written below, yesterday. Their faces turned pale. Who had written it if no one lived here? Suddenly, the camera light turned on by itself. In the corner of the lens, A faint white figure appeared like a woman in a long gown, walking slowly down the stairs. When they zoomed in, the screen flickered and blurred, and when it cleared again, the figure was gone. But on the mirror nearby, there was a fresh handprint, still moist, as if someone had just placed it there. One man tried to wipe the mirror clean, but behind the dust, a message appeared. "You shouldn't have come." The air turned suddenly cold. Curtains began to move wildly on their own. A glass fell from the table and shattered. The lantern's flame died out. And then through the darkness, a voice whispered, faint but clear, "Leave." They ran outside in panic. No one looked back. But one man stopped. He said, "I want to see what's really inside." He turned back and went straight toward the attic door. It was open, and the darkness inside felt alive. He turned on his torch. Old things came into view: a rocking horse, a cracked photo frame, and a broken mirror. But in that photo frame was his own face, the man who had just entered moments ago. He dropped the flashlight. Behind him, footsteps echoed, thack, 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 slowly moving closer. He asked, "Who's there?" No answer, only the sound of breathing, a breath that wasn't his. By morning, that man was never seen again. Police searched the house but found nothing. Except in one corner of the attic, a dusty diary. It read, "The house is alive. It doesn't call them in, it enters them." After that day, the mansion was sealed forever. But people say, if you walk past it on a silent night, you can see a shadow behind the windows watching you. And if you stand there too long, that shadow slowly starts to move closer. Some say when they try to take pictures, an extra face appears in the frame, blurry but alive. Once a photographer claimed that when he took a photo of the house, a pale hand could be seen behind the window, but in real life, there was nothing there. He never returned to Mayfair again. Every year on one night in October, a faint light glows from within the mansion, as if an old memory has awakened. They say that on that night, the furniture moves slightly, and new writing appears on the wall. The last message read, "Just one more is needed." But no one knows what that one more means. Some believe that house doesn't just watch, it chooses. It waits for a new face, someone who enters and never leaves. Now, that mansion in Mayfair isn't just a building anymore. It's a living soul, one that watches every day and waits every night. And when you walk by and tell yourself, it's all just imagination, that's when the house quietly remembers your name. And sometimes, when you see your reflection in the window, remember, some houses aren't just built, they live. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.